Yeah, welcome to Straight Shooting News. This will be episode 14 of The Awakening. Bigger than Biden. Stand up now or surrender on Founder's vision of representative government. I'm your host, Bandana Red. Here on Straight Shooting News, there'll be no Carnival Barking. I'm not an entertainer. I'm not here direct to impress. Want entertainment? Find a circus or a social media clown. There's plenty of them out there. Need sugarcoating? Buy donut. Here on Straight Shooting News, we shoot straight with the news you need to hear. And we'll not feed you what you want to hear. Right now, clock is ticking away on our freedoms. There are too many distractions from the media and the social media to waste your time online. We know resolution 2023, like we told you, but just a massive awakening. A result in resolutions in the future that will be beneficial for the human race. So just stay the course. Stay positive. Remain confident. With the knowledge of when and how to take a stand, we the people will be victorious. As Jefferson stated, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in the state of civilization, respect what never was and never will be. A strong statement is carried through history. It seems like too many have forgot it. But yeah, we're coming to you from the Merrimack Valley. In Massachusetts, when a shot heard around the world was fired at the Concord Bridge. That changed the way the human race would be ruled or not be ruled by kings, queens, emperors, or czars. And that's an important fact we're going to emphasize for you here tonight. So tonight, you're going to have another awakening. Because you will see, as in the series, you're going to see the political pendulum swinging back and forth. The hypnotic effect goes left to right to left to right again and again, until freedom and liberty is completely eroded away. And we still have our defense that we always explain to you, the Constitution and the U.S. Bill of Rights. And we got a decision of Marbury versus Madison. All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. And that goes for agencies too. So what's taken today? This legal precedent is more important than ever before. Don't allow yourself to be distracted and by blockers. It's selling off false brand of hopium, telling you something's coming, or someone's going to come and save you. Our future's in our hands. Tonight, everything we're going to show you is going to be shown to you under fair use laws. So our show tonight is going to be about the good news about what the GOP House is actually doing, what they promised the American people they would do. But the problem, we have many cover-ups. And there's attack on the human race by sinister players. And we need to destroy them for our own good. It's no time to play nice. Hopefully when you watch the show tonight, you're going to understand why. That time's passed. So we're going to begin our show tonight with breaking news from Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Romo. They broke some news today while everybody was enjoying Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to you all. But some news came out that was quite disturbing. So we broke this first segment into two parts. And this is going to be two long clips, but you need to watch them both because they both apply. I'm going to show you what broke today and what we've been showing you over the past months that all apply to exactly what's taking place right now. So the first clip's going to be with interviews with Mike Turner and James Comer, GOP House committees, investigating and exposing the treasonous corruption of the Bidens and the U.S. intelligence agencies. And you'll understand once you watch these clips Okay. And then we're going to follow up with a segment on what we've been showing, like I told you, because we have reached a time where the clock is ticking away. And everything we're seeing on mainstream media and social media, it's all distractions. So let's start that with this first segment with Coma and Mike Turner on Maria.
So how much of a disadvantage is America at now after all of this surveillance underway by communist China?
Well, this is certainly very difficult. I mean, we took effort to try to weed out Chinese technology within our telecommunication systems to try to protect our data, even as China continues to increase its hacking of, for economic espionage and espionage against our country. But as China tries to get a foothold in our country itself, the FBI, the administration, they've been more interested in saying that Americans are a threat to America than that China is a threat to America. And their priorities need to change, and certainly we're trying to impact that.
Well, that is just outrageous. American citizens are the threat. Covering up for Joe Biden, Biden's cabinet, the FBI, the media, and 51 former intelligence officials, all implicated for covering up what House Oversight Committee members suggest should be a decades-long influence peddling operation by Joe Biden and his family.
The bank records show the Biden family, their associates, and their companies received over $10 million from foreign nationals and their companies. Some of that money came from a Chinese company and went to Hunter Biden's company.
Has identified at least $10 million that the Biden family has taken in from foreign companies looking for inroads into America. Comer reporting that at least 9 members of the Biden family received income from foreign sources, with attempts made to conceal those large financial transactions through a web of LLCs, or limited liability companies, which accepted the wire transfers and then transferred them to Biden family members. Also, Chinese nationals were among those involved in hiding the source of the money. Chairman Comer also revealing that the Biden family received $1 million from a corrupt Romanian businessman, while then Vice President Biden pledged to clean up corruption in Romania. Let's talk about the China initiative. As soon as Joe Biden entered the White House, when he started his term as president, he canceled what was the China initiative. Did he get paid for canceling the China initiative?
Well, this is one of the policy decisions that Joe Biden made that makes no sense. The China initiative was an FBI operation that was investigating a spy ring in our colleges and universities, which just about every major university president in America would admit. Now, this has been happening for a decade. Every university president knows it. But when Joe Biden became president, one of the first things he did was cancel the China initiative because they said it was racially profiling these Chinese students in the United States. Now, why would he do something like that when every major company in America complains about China stealing our intellectual property? That's one of the biggest issues we have with China. And now we find out his family received millions and millions of dollars from the Chinese Communist Party.
It's $600 to $800 billion that corporations in America lose because of this this theft of intellectual property by the Chinese Communist Party. So you're here, and that is this cover-up. You have spoken with whistleblowers. You also spoke with an informant who gave you all of this information. Where is that informant today? Where are these whistleblowers?
Well, unfortunately, we can't track down the informant. We're hopeful that the informant is still there. The whistleblower knows the informant. The whistleblower is very credible. And all we're asking the FBI with respect to the Form 1023 is, what did you do to investigate this allegation? No president has ever been accused of the things that the Biden family's been accused of at a time when we have a country like China that's a huge threat to our national security, not just, as I mentioned earlier, stealing all of our research and development intellectual property. They're also building up their military. They've got a cyber attack unit that's superior to anything that we can defend against in the United States.
Did you just say that the whistleblower or the informant is now missing?
Well, we're hopeful that we can find the informant. Now, remember, these informants are kind of in the spy business. So they don't make a habit of being seen a lot or being high profile or anything like that. This is a very serious accusation. All the FBI has to do is say, yeah, we looked into it and it wasn't a credible informant. But they won't answer our questions.
Are there whistleblowers or informants missing right now?
9 of the 10 people that we've identified that have very good knowledge with respect to the Bidens, they're one of 3 things, Maria. They're either currently in court, they're currently in jail, or they're currently missing. Because we have people that want to come forward, but honestly, Maria, they fear for their lives. Not only are the Biden lawyers and the Biden White House intimidating them, the media is trying to intimidate and discredit them. And we just need to get some cooperation from these different deep state bureaucracies that are standing in our way.
This is absolutely extraordinary, and it is stunning that some people are missing, that you need to prove this. Who in the White House is intimidating these people? Do you know?
I do know. We're saving that for a later time. But I can tell you one thing that a lot of people don't know. When I issue a subpoena to a bank or to an individual, the second I issue that, Jamie Raskins gets that. And when we get information in from the bank or from any individual, they make 2 copies, one for the majority, which are the Republicans, one for the minority, which are the Democrats. And my biggest problem with the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee is they're acting as a criminal defense attorney for the Biden family. Not only are they not working with us, they're obstructing every step of the way. So the hurdles that our committee is having to overcome with the Democrats on the committee, with the Biden big dollar criminal defense attorneys, with the power of the White House, with the Department of Justice, with the FBI, there are a lot of options.
You're trying to understand who specifically is intimidating these people and why are they missing. What are you going to do at this point? If the FBI says we're not going to give you that document and you actually subpoenaed it, what is your next step? What can you do?
Well, we're going to end up in court, and I think we have a very compelling case in court to be able to win. But that's the strategy from day one. You know how slow the wheels of justice turn in America. So court to get information that we shouldn't have any trouble in the world getting from our government.
Yeah, is there anything you can do to move this along quicker? You're going to have to file
suit soon, right? We're going to move it along as quick as we can. Yeah, well, that's the judicial branch of government. We're the legislative branch. We're taking the executive branch to the judicial branch to try to get information that we should have already received.
Just our 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
It is Adam Schiff, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, who, as you pointed out on Friday, said that the intelligence community believes that Hunter Biden's laptop and the emails on it are part of some Russian disinformation campaign. Let me be clear. The intelligence community doesn't believe that because there's no intelligence that supports that.
Now, the House Intelligence and Judiciary Committees are taking depositions from the 51 former intelligence officials to find out why they signed that letter with no actual factual information. Get your take on the breaking news of the morning. And that was your colleague, James Comer, just telling us that the informant is missing. He's been talking with whistleblowers and informants, and now he can't find one of them. What do you think is behind this?
Well, this is certainly very disturbing. I can the FBI should be looking at these as evidences of a crime, but in fact, it appears the FBI is being, less than helpful, if not obscuring obstructing the congressional investigation.
What can you tell us about the 51 spies and your depositions? What have you learned?
We already have uncovered through the depositions an admission that from one of the 51 that this was done totally to create the talking point that you just played. In fact, these people signed on to a letter without any evidence whatsoever that there was any Russian intervention or that this was Russia misinformation, solely for the purposes of helping Joe Biden in his debate try to tell the American public that the Hunter Biden laptop wasn't real, when in fact now we know that it's real. And all of the evidence of financial transactions, which are highly questionable, there are real. We had Brennan, the former CIA director, who along with Clapper, the head of the ODNI, was one of the big perpetrators of the Russia hoax against the Trump administration, who admitted in his deposition, well, this was just political. Well, what that translates to is that this was just a lie. That Joe Biden knew that he was lying. Joe Biden knew that he was lying to the American public, and he used these 51 who had, past credentials and intelligence to claim that something was Russian misinformation when in fact it was absolutely true. And there's unexplained infusions of money into the Biden family that really has no cause and understanding. At this point, it looks like criminal activity.
Okay. Do you understand what they just said there? Do you understand that this is set up? Rights and everything depend on the U.S. Constitution and the checks and balances it provides. And we no longer have checks and balances in government. We have tyranny. We have a tyrannical dictatorship. So let's take that apart a little bit for you. Did you watch Maria's face? Did you watch? And they were telling you how the biggest threat to the U.S. is the American people. Who would make that kind of statement? And what do they mean by that kind of statement? The American people, we are the United States of America. We the people. We the people are the United States of America. So that must mean this government is not our government. If we're a threat to it, we showed you too now the actual documents from the investigations that started into the Chinese money and the influx into the U.S. institutions. We showed you that the documents from 2018 when they started and the results that they came up by the end, and it was right from the College Department itself. So none of this is being made up. None of it is a conspiracy. They're all facts. And we'll go back and we'll dig them out. We'll show you some clips in an Awakening Thunder clip to remind you. Like I said, this was several years ago. So we have now, this is even shocking. Maria got quite a shock out of this. The people who came forward to speak out, to try to save our country, the whistleblowers, they're missing. They're missing. They fear for their lives. The words they said. The White House is intimidating. The media is intimidating. Who is Raskin, this little Democrat? He's got this do-rag on his head now. And he's running around. So this is how the system works. Both parties are supposed to work together for the people. The people now they claim are a threat to the country. The people aren't a threat to the country. We are the country, like I told you. So as soon as Homer makes a move, Hoskins is notifying the White House, and they immediately start intimidating people. You're going to go through the courts. Courts are slow rolling. What's the purpose of slow rolling all this? What do they intend to achieve? This has been completely violated. But saying that, let's go back. I'm going to give you a couple of quick blips from some of our shows that we put out, trying to connect the dots. Let me see if you can connect them. So, roll that.
Washington, D.C., late 2019. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists began receiving a trove of leaked documents. In all, nearly 12 million confidential financial files from firms that set up shell companies and offshore accounts for clients seeking to keep their wealth in the shadows. The leaked records are called the Pandora Papers, and they expose a financial system that shields the deals and assets of some of the world's richest and most powerful people.
We arrived at the conclusion pretty quickly that this was going to be bombshell material. Bank accounts of politicians that showed tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars worth of assets that had never been publicly associated with these politicians or public figures before.
Over the past 2 years, journalists from 150 news organizations, including Frontline, have been examining the leaked documents. Emails, spreadsheets, contracts.
Hi, I'm Zach Dubinsky. I'm based in Toronto, Canada.
I'm from Bosnia.
From Chile.
I am based in Washington, D.C.
In an online meeting, Frontline producers Evan Williams and James Oliver joined other journalists working on the story to discuss where the reporting was leading.
That meeting is the starting gun. That sets hundreds of journalists off around the globe.
Documents were leading directly to world leaders themselves.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, there we go.
With ICIJ reporter Will Fitzgibbon, we started examining these figures.
We're certainly seeing powerful people for various reasons. Maybe for tax purposes, maybe simply to hide the fact that they're multi-millionaires from their own citizens who often live in poverty.
In all, there were more than 300 public officials around the world, and 14 cases involving current leaders of countries.
The deception of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Their plan to take down the U.S. and replace the U.S. dollar with the world's global currency. There's a reason for that. We have some people cheering it on. Communist Chinese Party is to prove to the world that freedoms are dangerous to the future of humanity. The people of the planet must accept authoritarian nationalism, with the Communist Chinese Party playing the dominant role. The BRICS financial system is based on the Communist Chinese yuan as an alternative to much of the corruption that occurs. But the question is it really?
The strength of a nation's currency is based on the strength of that nation's economy. And the American economy is by far the strongest in the world. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets. The effect of this action, in other words, will be to stabilize the dollar.
In 1945, the US President Franklin Roosevelt made an agreement of the century with the Saudi king, whereby the US guaranteed the security of Saudi Arabia, and in exchange, the Saudi king agreed to sell oil in US dollars.
For decades, world trade has been dominated by the dollar.
The Financial Authority of Singapore and the People's Bank of China have renewed the bilateral currency swap arrangement.
Saudi Arabia is in discussions with China to price some of its oil sales in yuan.
China and Russia have taken another step closer towards dumping the dollar.
I'm a professor of political economy at California State Polytechnic University, Humboldt. Most international oil sales are priced in US dollars, regardless of the countries that are participating in the transaction. Oil is the most widely traded commodity in the world, and almost all of those transactions take place in US dollars. Because countries who want to purchase oil must first purchase US dollars, oil sales generate additional demand for US currency beyond what might otherwise be the case. Such demand creates greater currency stability for the United States currency, and it also insulates the US economy from some forms of price inflation. But the US dollar accounts for about 80% of all foreign currency transactions worldwide, a total of about $6.6 trillion per day. If the dollar becomes less stable as a store of value, that is, if it suffers from higher rates of inflation.
Bottom line is dollars are just ink and paper, useless paper. It's the useful commodity that supports that dollar that gives it value. Keep that in mind. You're not hearing all this in the mainstream media. For some reason, they don't want to tell us.
I went to the island nation of Tuvalu, where I witnessed an entire country fighting for its very existence against the rising seas.
Lies, lies, and lies. In fact, an Auckland University study of Tuvalu found that over the past 4 decades, 3/4 of Tuvalu's islands actually grew. The total land area increased 3% nearly. And around the Pacific is exactly the same story. 43% of islands growing. Another 43% of them stable. Not drowning, they're growing.
There's a lot of geopolitical games going on right now. And what these people are really after this? They're after this. Because this is what's standing in their way of complete domination. You know, why would any U.S. administration completely understanding the petrodollar, don't let anybody fool you and say, well, gee, we didn't know this would happen. Bull. Okay, why would any of them, knowing the very essence of importance of the petrodollar, want to push away from the petrodollar under false claims and lies? The people pushing this climate change thing are enemies of your freedom and freedom worldwide. Okay. So I hope I've helped clarify a bit for you and put in perspective what we showed you in the first part. This is what they want. They want your freedom, your rights. They want to rule you. So what did we just hear there? Now, first question is, any of you take notice of the date that were in these videos? If not, the timeline to all this is very important, how this is laid out right down the line. So keep that in mind. Now, the Pandora Papers, we did several shows with that, and that came out on Frontline on the liberal media of October 2019. All the reporters were hot and heavy and going after it. They found all these world leaders all involved in laundering money, cash. Now they've all been silenced. We haven't heard from any of them. Who's silenced them? Do they fear for their lives, much like the whistleblower does? Who was trying to come forward and expose Biden and his China money and many other countries that were involved in feeding the Biden's money. Think about that. We have a war in Ukraine, Russia. There's so many things to unwind in that. We had a virus released on us at the end of 2019 by China. Everybody worked to cover it up. They were all working against free people of the world with lockdowns and everything else. Why did they release it? Think about the Pandora Papers coming out. And we have BRICS in the petrodollar. Think of all that Chinese money coming in. The Biden family. And they've only hit the tip of the iceberg. These people haven't even, the Senate House committees have only just started digging in. And we have, they're looking at taking the US dollar down from the world trading currency, which helps the US, who is, whether you like it or not, is the leader of the free world and the protector of the free world. No other country strong enough to stand up to tyranny than the United States. The United States has to be taken down. And you know what he said? Think about the inflation. Who here isn't feeling the inflation? I don't care what party you're with, what you believe in. Who isn't feeling this inflation? I know I am. You know, many of you have to be. Unless you're like completely wealthy, or maybe you're one of those people who have these offshore accounts hiding your money. They're trying to, you know, uncover for everybody. So, and we're looking at climate lies. That's all facts. You can go look them up yourself. That report is right on the money. So, with the petrodollar, commodities, uncovering of all these world leaders that are so corrupt. If you go back and watch our series, you see they got connections to the cartels, which goes into another thing, the border crisis. It's all connected. So what we're going to do now is we're going to end this segment, and we're going to go to the next segment where we put the show together last week, and you're going to see different parts. The unreal expectations of these government officials who believe that the checks and balances are still in place. I'm going to show you a couple more segments that are going to start connecting more of the dots for you and take a really, really deep dive into who is actually controlling government. But that we're seeing in part two.